All right, welcome to Medium as Message. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the coolest project ever. And it's your chance to really explore type. There are very few opportunities to really play with type in what I call the elasticity of type. In other words, you can push it, you can pull it, you can mold it, you can play around with it in so many different ways. And you probably will never have dreamed that type can do the things that we're going to do in this project. And the beauty of this project is that it allows you to push it to the point where you've pushed it beyond comprehension. I call it the Cliff Project, and you'll see why in a minute. And basically what happens in our world, right? We've got television ads, we've got pop-ups, we've got bus signs, we've got traffic signs and billboards, we've got movie trailers, notifications and alerts that are popping onto our phone every few seconds. This is a media saturated world, and we're bombarded literally with between 6,000 and 10,000 impressions per day. And that's pretty intense. And so how do we get our message to stand out in that crowd? I mean, there is just a lot of noise out there, and your message is going to basically just turn into static if you don't do something about it. And this is where effective typography comes in. Effective typography is basically playing around with type to make the message more interesting, more meaningful, and scannable, a term that I use to say that you can scan the message and get the idea, get the semantics of the message without having to get in and actually read every word. And if you grab the semantics, if you grab the meaning early on, then you are more inclined to get involved with the message. And so typography can do that for us. We do that by breaking it down into basic concepts. What's the idea? What's the idea? Because every message has got more than one idea. You're trying to build a case to get to the point where you have the viewer react positively to your call to action. So we break it down into concepts so it's easy to grab. And then we use proximity, keeping the concepts together into what I call islands of information. And using proximity, it holds that idea together. Then we use hierarchy. Hierarchy is basically taking words that are important and making them, taking words that you think have meaning and making them important, and then taking the words that are less important and making them less important. I call this emphasis and de-emphasis. And basically what we're doing is we're emphasizing the big stuff and we're de-emphasizing the little stuff. Again, we're eliminating the clutter. We're eliminating the static between what we want our viewer to really get and the stuff that's just there to hold it together. So we'll play around a lot with hierarchy. We'll also explore alignment. Alignment is the basics of structure, and alignment goes a long way towards helping your design become a crafted piece. These compositions that you're going to be doing within these sequences are essentially experiments, right? They're just explorations about how stuff works. They're going to be a little messy. It's okay. That's what experiments are for. We're not really trying to create true compositions yet. We're trying to learn how to control and play with type. And then once we get to the point where we've got a sequence that is viable, then we'll edit it down to a sequence of 5. And that last 5 are going to be crafted. They're going to be designed. They're going to be aligned. They're going to, you're going to refine your basic, hierarchies. You're going to play, you're going to refine the type choices and the typeface choices that you made. And then the last element in all of this is type treatments. And the type treatment is essentially doing something cool with the important words. This may mean, a different kind of scale. It could be a different typeface. It could be color. It could be texture. It could be some kind of effect, whatever. The point is that it makes those words that you've emphasized, and it now makes them visually enhanced so that they really have some drama to them. And so these are the things that we're going to do in terms of handling our sequences. We're going to be building 2 10-step sequences, and each sequence is going to have a different quote. And the first sequence will only be black and white. The second sequence, pull out the stops, color, graphics, effects, whatever you want to do. And then we're going to take those 2 sequences and we're going to edit them, like I said, down to a sequence of 5 that's crafted and beautifully designed, and then we're going to make a really cool book out of the whole thing. So we're going to play around with some important things like semantics and syntax. We're going to be playing around with what readability and legibility is. We're working with essentially the idea of the sequence. You've heard me talk about saving sequentially if you've had me in a class before. Save sequentially. Well, this sequence is the process. It is the product. And it's going to force you to save along the way, because you are going to be creating a more and more ambitious result from each of the previous layouts. So it's going to start real simple and it's going to get really crazy. As the sequence progresses, it's going to get more and more ambitious to the point where you reach the cliff. It's where the composition is really starting to go, okay, what's going on? In other words, the readability could be compromised. The syntax is definitely going to be compromised. Semantics should still be holding together, because by using effective type treatments, you should be able to make that the semantic meanings of the words enhance the semantic meaning of the message. And so those are the things that will hold on. And then I'm going to push you off the cliff, and then you're going to get to the point where you're actually just playing, literally painting with type. And the point of the cliff is that you have to be able to reach the cliff and to fall off the cliff in order to know where the cliff is. If you never reach the cliff, you never know how far you can go. And that's critically important in type, because we're not always going to get a chance to be completely crazy with type. Certainly, we're going to have to maintain a certain amount of control and containment. But this experiment, this project, allows you to kind of really play around with that, to know what the possibilities are and the cool things that you can do with type. So, as I said, coolest project ever. So have fun.